concern as it relates to our economy. Now, people have high expectations as well as a high suspicion about the $7 million or $7 billion rescue bill that passed and a couple of weeks ago. How do you think the rescue bills will help not only Wall Street, but also the people on Main Street? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Buckley.
Thank you for the question. I would, first of all, $700 billion. And I would have voted against the bill because I think I had a better solution. I think there's a way to make only those people responsible for the mess potentially at risk. The way that the bill is now the act is, the way it reads is over a period of 5 years, the Treasury Department is going to buy tainted assets, mortgage-backed securities. They're also buying stock in banks. And after a 5-year period, they're going to figure out whether they made money or lost money. And if they lost money, then the financial industry has got to make the Treasury whole, the government whole. So if of the $700 billion that's loaned, they buy assets and sell them for $600 billion, it's a $100 billion loss. The president proposes to Congress a means of making the financial industry pay for the $100 billion loss. Now, I think something different should have been done. I like the idea of providing the credit, the liquidity, because there really was and is a credit crisis, so the banks needed the money. But it could have been set up so that after that 5-year period and after the loss is calculated, only the people responsible for the mess are potentially liable for the loss. And those are the people who borrowed too much, got in over their heads, the people that loaned to them, and then the banks and financial institutions that own these tainted assets. The bill could have been crafted that way. And what I suggested was you have a 1% tax. Let's say there is a $100 billion loss. That you say to those people who are in that group, if you're a company, you've got to pay 1% of your gross income. If you're an individual, your revenue, 1% of your revenue. If you're an individual, you've got to pay 1% of your gross income until this total loss is recovered, plus interest, plus a 20% penalty for making us all go through this mess. And I think the Libertarian Party believes in individual responsibility. I believe in individual responsibility. I think people who live over their heads should be responsible for this mess, and people who own them. So that's what should have been done, in my opinion. I issued a press release before the bill was enacted. Also, there were tax cuts in the bill without any spending cuts. And I like seeing taxes cut, but they have to be coupled with spending cuts, equal or greater spending cuts. That's why, those are the two reasons I would not vote for the bill. But I would have proposed another bill like that I just mentioned, and I would have fought for it.
Mr. Thompson, please.
Thank you. As everyone knows, Saxby did vote in favor of the bill. The economic stabilization package came through the Democrat-controlled U.S. Senate and the House, and Saxby, at the end of the day, supported it. The reason he supported it was not for Wall Street, but it was for Main Street. When we get to our community bankers and our small businesses that rely on the lines of credit, when those lines were drying up, we had basically stable businesses that were threatened with going under immediately. And that puts Georgians out of jobs, it puts Americans out of jobs, hardworking people that really are the lifeblood of this economy. So Saxby did support that effort. He voted for it. Was it a perfect bill? No. Could it have been better? Yes. But at the end of the day, Saxby made a decision that something had to be done, and he could either turn away from it and vote against it, knowing it was going to pass anyways, or he could say, no, we do need to get involved in this. I do need to vote for it because of our local small businesses and the basic integrity of our financial markets. It's a critical time for this country economically, and something had to be done.
Okay, thank you. That was not a tough bill to make a decision on, and if it is not enough, what do we need to do? We need to have another bill, Mr. Thompson. Sorry.
We're going to have to wait and see what happens with the economy. We've continued to see a lot of volatility out there, which is scary for all of us. I've got a very small stock portfolio, and to watch it go down and up and down and up, I'm just glad that my retirement is a ways off. But you have a lot of people that are facing retirement that have worked hard for it. They've saved up, and it's easy to point out the Wall Street fat cats and say, well, we're trying to help them. We're not trying to help them. So we're going to have to just keep watching and seeing and continue to watch what the economy does. through the Fed continues to act, and I think that's great when they're cutting rates and doing what they can from that side. But Saxby will stay engaged on this process and keep a watch on things.
Okay, Mr. Buckley, do you have some suggestions?
Let me just say this, in the future, the Federal Reserve Bank is largely responsible for this problem, because by law, they have three powers. One is three objectives: low unemployment, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates. So they have a tremendous amount of power to do whatever they want. And what they did was they overcooked the economy. Between the Federal Reserve and tax cuts without spending cuts, we had an overcooked economy. And the Federal Reserve took the interest rate that they charge banks down to 1%, held it there for a year, slowly moved it back up. And so what happened was we created this real estate glut, this tremendous demand for money, a lot of money created. Now we've got the aftermath. We've got a recession, we've got a real estate glut. Real estate prices are dropping because there's just supply exceeds demand. So in the future, we need to change the powers of the Federal Reserve Bank and reduce them. So their sole goal must be stable prices, because that is what will make our country last indefinitely. When you have a monetary system that is not based on gold or anything, you've got potential problems.
Okay. Okay, let's go to another question for economy about housing and jobs. Let's have Lindsay Levinson.
Good evening, everybody. My question is also something that was one of the questions that was sent in by the community. And they would like to know, many Americans and many Georgians are afraid of losing homes and losing jobs. If elected, or if you continue for Senator Chambliss, what strategies will you take to help fellow Americans keep their homes, keep their jobs, and to survive this difficult time successfully?
Mr. Thompson, first, please.
Very briefly, Saxby will support the economic policies of John McCain. John McCain is coming in to focus on the economy and jobs. It's his #1 priority. Saxby will support that. You look at, on the other side, Senator Obama's position, which includes a host of things that sound good, but in actuality are new taxes, and new taxes on small business owners. That is not what we need to be doing in times like these, where small business owners are struggling to keep their businesses, struggling to keep their employees employed. We don't need to go in and tax those people in the midst of this crisis. We need to lower our taxes. We need to continue to look at other ways to lower taxes, whether it be capital gains tax, business tax, etc. Saxby has been the Senate sponsor of the fair tax, which would do away with the IRS completely. It would replace it with a sales tax. Our opponent right now, not Mr. Buckley, but Mr. Martin, is running ads on TV lying about it and saying that basically Saxby is supporting this huge sales tax. What he doesn't go on to say is that it would do away with IRS, death tax, gift tax, etc. So it's unfortunate that that's taken place. But Saxby will continue to fight for the fair tax as long as the Democrats are in the majority. I do not think it will pass, but he's going to continue to work to get that type of legislation enacted that will overhaul our overburdensome tax system and put in place something that's simple and easy to use and easy to do. Closer.
Mr. Buckley, please.
First of all, the fair tax is never going to be enacted, and that's probably a good thing, because you'd end up with both a sales tax and an income tax, like most other industrialized countries. The Republicans controlled everything from 2001 to 2006. It wasn't enacted then. The Democrats would never enact it. And it's a good thing, because the revenue neutral rate is roughly double the rate of the bill. Put in the revenue neutral rate, and you crucify retirees and the middle class. It's basically about shifting the tax burden from corporations and wealthy people to the middle class and retirees. That's what that's about in a nutshell. It's never going to happen. It's a good thing because we, like I said, with virtually every other large country in the world, they have both either a VAT, value-added tax, or a sales tax and income tax. And one of the things that's helped the United States economy the strongest in the world is we only have one major tax, the income tax. Granted, it's a complex mess, but we've only got one. We've got to keep it that way. Let me say this. The role of the government is mainly to protect the people and their property and the environment. It's not to be creating prosperity and then creating recession. That's what happened here. You need to realize the federal government, between the Federal Reserve and the Congress, cutting taxes and not cutting spending, created prosperity in the 2003, 2004 timeframe, 2002 to 2005 timeframe. And now we have a real estate glut. We've got the aftermath. So if you want to point fingers, point it at the Federal Reserve and the Republican Congress that was in charge. I do have some ideas.